Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back to Spain for the first time in quite a little while actually, and this is another brewery who I have never tried anything from. I will say though that I've been impressed with the quality of the Spanish beers over the last reviews that I've done, and it always tends to be the case that countries that do wine very well tend to be very good when they try their hand at craft beer as well. Greece, Slovenia, Italy, Spain and Portugal are all pretty strong examples of that statement, a pretty strong basis for that statement, I guess I should say. But for this one we're going to head to the Madrid area. We're going to check out the Gypsy Brewery today, and these guys are called the Flying Inn. So this beer is called Sisyphus. It comes in at 7.5%. From what I gather it is a New England style IPA, this one, but it's double dry hopped with Galaxy from Australia. So it should be really interesting. This is a beer that I picked up at Kiosk over in Copenhagen, and I just picked this one up because I didn't recognise the name of the brewery. I saw it was from Spain. I knew I hadn't reviewed a Spanish beer in quite a while, and I thought, you know, why not, let's go for it. But for those of you watching in Sweden, you can pick this beer up through Glassbank and .sa, along with a few of the other ones as well from Flying Inn. But really looking forward to trying this one. I've always been impressed with the quality of the Spanish beers, and hopefully this is yet another good one. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from the Flying Inn. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Spanish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about the Flying Inn then, on to my brewery notes. So as I mentioned to you earlier on, the Flying Inn are a contract or gypsy brewery, however you want to term them. It does seem to depend on what country they're from as to which term you use, but these guys are from Spain, and from what I gather they're based mainly in the kind of Madrid area. A lot of their beers are brewed in different places around the north, just to the north of Madrid actually. But the company itself was founded back in 2016, and the two men behind the brewery are Juan Toledano and Cesar Martinez. Both of these guys had been avid homebrewers for a number of years, and then after a long conversation in the pub one night, they decided that they were going to go commercial and start up their own company. So they brewed their first batch of beer in 2016, which was a double IPA, which was called Telepathic War Elephant, and they've continued to grow it since then. They brewed this beer just in a small 500 litre batch, and then it really caught on, and they've just expanded over the last couple of years. As I mentioned, these guys are gypsy brewers. They started canning their beers in 2018, and most of their beers are brewed at Cervezas Ariasas in Guadalajara. I do apologise if that pronunciation isn't quite right. And they also brew a good number of their beers at Sesma Brewing in Navarra as well. But they've also brewed small lots of beer at the Cazura Brew Pub in Leon, and also Veer in Valladolid as well actually. And as of May 2019, they've produced somewhere in the region of 35 different beers according to Untappd. Most of them do seem to be IPAs and stuff like that, and they've got a good couple of collaborations in there as well, which would be worth checking out also. But yeah, another interesting Spanish brewery that I had never heard of before, and I think that, you know, there have been a couple of gypsy breweries that I've had from Spain before as well, but it seems to be that the north of Spain, like Basqueland and or is it Escadia you call it in Basque, and things like that. So Catalonia and Escadia do tend to be very kind of strong brewing regions at the moment, and it's cool to be finding that there's some breweries coming from other parts of Spain as well. I really do need to get over to Spain actually and have a little look and see all the different stuff I can find, because I know there is a really thriving craft beer scene over there, particularly in Barcelona, right enough. But yeah, really cool to find another Spanish brewery that I'd never heard of, and let's hope that it's another good beer. So that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. That was all the information I could really find on these guys, because they are, you know, very small and very new. But if you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can see all the different beers that they do, and you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on at the brewery. So yeah, let's get rid of the brewery notes then, and we'll get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 7.5% New England style IPA. It's got oats listed in the ingredients, so you know, probably is a New England style IPA, this one, but really nicely presented. There you can see the Flying In brewery symbol on this one, which is pretty cool. But yeah, nice kind of, the artwork that you find in these beers is really nice. It's almost like these kind of collage things, and you get different ones on all of the different beers. There's obviously a lot of work goes into these, but I have to say I do quite like the style of artwork that they have on these. This one is a 44 centilitre or 440 milliliter can. But yeah, without further ado, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. I think this one should be a really interesting beer. This might actually be the first canned beer that I've had from Spain now that I think about it. I think that is actually the case. I think this must be the first canned beer that I have had from Spain, so that's pretty cool as well. So yeah, as you can see then, this beer is poured a really nice hazy golden yellow colour. It does have a tint of orange to it, but I would say it's more of a dark yellow rather than anything else. If I put my fingers behind the glass, there you can see the beer is pretty damn hazy, as you would expect from a New England IPA. There's a solid finger and a bit of a frothy, I would say slightly cream coloured head, this one. It's not perfect white, it is a little bit creamy, and there's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty nice. And not unexpected, or not surprising, I guess you would say, in terms of its appearance when you consider that it is a New England IPA. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh, now that smells really nice. So the Galaxy, as we all know, is a hop. It's from Australia. Can't remember what year it was developed, but by and large, I found that this hop seems to have replaced Simcoe. I've always found that it gives you some really nice passion fruity notes, and you pick that up straight away in this one. But at the same time, it does have a little bit of a slightly mango-y pineapple complexity, more of a pineapple than a mango, right enough. So you always get some nice passion fruity and pineapple-y notes out of this one. And yeah, it really is nice. It's almost got a little touch of a lemony citrus to it as well, this beer. But yeah, you can really smell that coming out of this. This is a really nice, juicy, fruity beer. The malt does actually have a fairly good presence to it as well, to be honest with you. But on the hoppy side of things, the green side of the hops are really leaning towards the grassy side of the beer. You can pick up a little bit of the floral notes out of the beer too, but yeah, it has a nice juicy, fruity, passion fruity, a little touch of mango, pineapple-y note in there, maybe even a little touch of a slightly lemony note as well. And the green side of the hops are leaning towards the grassy side of things too. But yeah, that smells really pretty nice actually. So yeah, on the malty side of things, you can smell some of the pale malty qualities in there. A little bit of an oaty creaminess as well, but mainly a pale malty base, this one. I'm not sure that there's too much in the way of wheat in this one in terms of the aroma. You can smell a little bit of it, but it's not quite the smoothest and sweetest wheaty quality that I've come across. The oats are fairly kind of subdued, I guess you would say, as well. They're not too punchy in terms of their aroma, to be honest with you. They are just kind of sitting in the background there. But yeah, with the other thing with the malty-based notes, there is a little touch of a grainy note coming out of this one, and it's almost a little bit biscuity, like a McVitie's Digestive, which is quite interesting. So yeah, the aroma on this one is kind of interesting. It's one of the more mild aromas, I would say, that I've come across from a New England IPA in recent times. But it does come across pretty nicely, I have to say, and it does have that nice little bit of juiciness that you expect of the Galaxy hop. It's got a really nice kind of tropical fruity note, so mainly tropical fruits, a little bit of grassy note in there, and a slightly more grainy malt base than you might come across from other New England IPAs. So yeah, always take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in, but we're going to try this one now. So this one is the Sisyphus, a New England IPA at 7.5%, double dry hopped with Galaxy hops from Australia, from the Flying In, a contract brewery based in the sort of Madrid area, I guess you could say, of Spain. This is one, as I say, that I got at Kiosk. Check out the link to them in the description below. Once again, let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål, salud. Yeah. So this one It's quite interesting that. I will say it's not quite at its prime freshness, we'll say that about this beer, but it's still holding up pretty well. Yeah, that's a nice one, that. It's the thing that I'm noticing particularly about this one is that it is quite smooth actually, and the hops to me are coming across a little bit, they're coming across a little bit more weight in the aftertaste, if that makes sense. There is almost a little touch of a kind of dank note with the hops to this beer as well, which is kind of interesting. I don't remember Galaxy having quite that level of dankness to it, but yeah, it's an interesting beer, this one. It's a bit of a change of pace compared to the other New England IPAs I've had in recent times, but it certainly does work. It gets a thumbs up from me. I like how everything goes together in this one. So let's see if we can analyse the flavour of this a little bit more. So, what I think you'll notice with this one first off, the malt base, to me, feels quite light in this one. So, straight away with this beer, you can feel the middle of your palate is just blanketed with this nice sort of pale malty base. The further that you go into the aftertaste, you'll feel that the malt base becomes a little bit more grainy, and there's almost this kind of vegetal quality coming out of it as well. You do get this from some New England IPAs, and I think it's to do with the type of yeast that some of the breweries are using. When you try some of the beers like Heady Topper and things like that, the yeast, you do find that the yeast strain that they were using in the original Heady Topper gives you this sort of grainy vegetal kind of thing in the aftertaste, and I can pick a little bit of that up here actually in this beer. You can feel it just in the middle of your palate, at the back of the tongue. You can really feel it there. But yeah, this beer definitely has a nice kind of juicy, fruity bite to it in the beginning, and then it just smooths out to become more grainy and has that little bit of vegetal quality there. But as your mouth adjusts to that, that fades into the background a little bit, which is kind of interesting. I do think that must be due to the yeast that they're using. I don't think it's due to the oats or the specific malt types or anything like that. The other brewery that it reminds me of is Nordic Kiwi here in Sweden. Their beers have this sort of grainy quality to them, which is kind of interesting. It sort of reflects on the old original New England IPAs from the likes of Heady Topper, as I was saying, or Alchemist Brewery rather. But yeah, I like how this one goes together. So yeah, as I say, pale bready malt base, you can feel a little bit of the smoothness of the wheat, and the wheat pushes its way out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste as well. So it's almost like the back of your palate is a little bit grainy and has that slightly vegetal note to it, but then the at the front of the palate it's a little bit more wheaty, and you can feel some of the oaty creaminess coming out of this beer as well, which is nice. There's almost a little bit of a biscuity sweetness in the very centre of your palate as well, which is interesting. But yeah, the fruity side of the hops in this one are nice too. So we'll focus on the hoppy side of the beer. The malt base is kind of straight up and it doesn't change too much once your palate adjusts to it, but the middle of your palate does dry out a little bit the further you go in. In the back corners of the palate there's a little touch of earthiness there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, you start to get those nice floral aromatic notes. As I was saying, there's almost a little touch of a kind of dankness to this one, which is quite unusual. Usually we always talk about the West Coast IPAs being a little bit more dank, but there is a little bit of that there. I do wonder if perhaps they could have used a little bit of Columbus or something as the bittering hop in this one. There's just something about the floral side of the hops in this beer that makes me think it's Columbus, because it just has that slightly darker, almost slightly aniseedy kind of flavour to it. There's something distinctive about the spicy notes, the floral aromatic spice in this beer that makes me think Columbus. I think they've put the Columbus in as the base hop and then the Galaxy on top of that. But around the front curve of the palate it's a little bit lighter and grassy, and of course behind the front curve of the tongue that's where you get those nice juicy fruity notes from the esters that come out of the hops. And for me this one's pretty straight up. It's really at the back of that oily bubble you get that nice sort of slightly darker grapefruity note there, but it's passion fruit very for most of the fruity side of the beer. There is a little bit of a pineapple-y note towards the front of the tongue. You will note the complexities that you get out of Galaxy at the front of the tongue, definitely. Yeah, definitely the back of the tongue. I think it's mainly passion fruit. I don't think there's grapefruit in there. I think that's it's not quite dark enough to be grapefruit. Mainly a passion fruit. You know, passion fruit itself is one of these slightly darker and more sour tropical fruits. But as you come further forward along the tongue, it gradually becomes more pineapple-y. There is maybe a little touch of mango in there, and you've got a little bit of an almost, of an almost papaya type flavour or something too. There's maybe a little touch of, you can really pick up at the very front tip of the tongue the sort of grassy ester notes coming out of this beer as well. But overall, this beer really is quite nice in how it goes together. It's definitely one of the more grainy and sort of dank New England IPAs that I've come across. It seems to go a little bit more for the old school New England IPA, if that makes sense. I think the ones that I first tried, of course, were from the likes of Stigbergets here in Sweden, and they were the very creamy, oaty ones. Whereas the original New England IPA did have the oats in the malt base, but it was still a bit of a kind of hoppy beast, if you like. It still had a good bit of IBU to it. That's what this one kind of reminds me of. This is a little bit like a kind of old school original New England IPA, which I didn't know existed until I reviewed Heady Topper, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's what this one really kind of reminds me of. It really is one of the more old school New England IPAs. So let's focus on the mouthfeel a bit then. I would say that this beer is mid-bodied. Yeah, carbonation is carbonation is very, very smooth on this one. The mouthfeel overall, it's got a nice bit of wetness to it. It's got a little bit of a kind of juicy oiliness to it as well, which helps bring out the fruity qualities. In terms of the hoppy bitterness, I think this one's a little bit heavier, maybe around the 50 IBU mark, something like that. You do get a little bit of bitterness from the grainy side of the beer as well, which is interesting. The malt base has a bit of smoothness to it, but like I say, it dries out a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste, and you get a little touch of the grainy note out of there, and you've also got some very nice juicy fruity notes to this beer as well. So the fruitiness, I should say as well, is quite dark in this one too. But yeah, overall, a very, very nice beer, this one, and I'm glad that I was able to review this beer for you on the channel. It's cool to pick up these new breweries from Spain that otherwise you might not have heard of. So yeah, let's leave it at that. This is a really properly old school, slightly more bitter New England IPA, which is always an interesting change of pace. So if you like Heady Topper, I think you will quite like the approach that these guys have taken to the New England IPA. I'd like to try one of their other ones and see if they've got a slightly more creamy one and see how that comes across as well. But yeah, as it stands, a really kind of interesting beer, this one. So yeah, let's leave it at that. This one was the Sisyphus, a New England style IPA coming in at 7.5%. A little bit more hoppy and bitter than some of the other New England IPAs you're going to come across, but a very nice beer nonetheless. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Flying Inn as well, and I'm sure we'll return to these guys at some point in the near future. And do let me know some other Spanish beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. Until the next time, Slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Slàinte, skål, salud.